You know what? Everybody likes the One X, the Galaxy S3, but let's be honest, not everybody needs that kind of power. How's it going, guys? I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and I'm here with two awesome little mid-range Android phones that are good, and we're going to put them together in a dogfight to see which one's the best. On one hand, you have the HTC One V, announced at Mobile World Congress in Barcelona, packing some decent specs, and in a design that looks very much like the original Hero. Then you have the T-Mobile myTouch, designed by Huawei. This is the one without the keyboard. It's available now at T-Mobile. This one's available now at US Cellular and through some prepaid carriers like Virgin Mobile and more. Which one's the best? Which one's the must-have smartphone out of these two? We'll find out, but first, some love to Best Buy Mobile for hooking us up with phones like this for use in our One Paw Bandit giveaway game that we turn around and give to you on the site. When you go into Best Buy Mobile to get either of these devices, or any device for that matter, you'll walk out working. They'll help you set up your email, your web, your camera settings, your contacts, your phone settings, and more, so when you walk out the door, you're good to go. Let's take a look. Is it the One V with a cool design, or the myTouch on T-Mobile? We'll find out in the full dogfight, which starts right now. So you know what, we all love the Galaxy S3 and the HTC One X and all these different cool phones that have come out so far in 2012. We love our high-end phones, we love those dual-core or even quad-core processors, but you know what, sometimes not everybody needs that. Perhaps it's your grandma, your mom, or somebody that's migrating up to a smartphone for the first time. They don't need a dual-core processor, they may not need 4G LTE capabilities. What they want is a smartphone that's reliable, it's got a reasonable size display, and that's relatively easy to use. Two of those are right here in front of us right now. One is the HTC One V. It's available at US Cellular, available at a couple of prepaid carriers as well, Virgin Mobile, and coming to Metro PCS as well. Then you have the Huawei myTouch, or the T-Mobile myTouch. It's designed by Huawei, and it's the third generation of myTouch devices, if you will, after LG's series of myTouch devices and after the initial HTC series of myTouch devices. They're both available at their respective carriers. This one at US Cellular is $99.99 after a $100 mail-in rebate. This one is $49.99 after a $50 mail-in rebate at T-Mobile. Specs-wise, they're both, not high-end by any means, but this one has a 1 GHz Qualcomm Snapdragon S2 CPU. This one has a 1.4 GHz Qualcomm Snapdragon S2 CPU. So both out of kind of the same chipset family, if you will, but this one has a 1 GHz CPU, this one has a 1.4 GHz CPU, both S2 processors. Also, both have 1,500 milliamp hour batteries, though the One V's is non-removable, so that's something to keep in mind as well. 3.7-inch display over here, 4-inch display over here, 480 by 800 pixels on both of these, and then in terms of talk time, you're looking at about 7 hours of talk time on both of these devices. This one comes in at 4.06 ounces, 4.9 over on the myTouch, and then there's a myTouch Q device as well at T-Mobile if you want a physical QWERTY keyboard. So, price-wise, very similar. And forgive me, I've got a frog in my throat. I think I'm getting sick. So forgive me if I clear my throat a couple of times in this video like I'm about to do right now. Excuse me. But they're both Android devices. This one is special because it's running Android 4.0 with HTC Sense version 4. Now, it's a pared-down version of Sense version 4 that we're used to on the One S and the One X. But that said, it's still nice to, hey, it's a mid-range device that still gets Android 4.0. It's proof that manufacturers can design a device that's not necessarily the highest-end device, but can still get the most recent software build. Now, obviously, I'm not in the US Cellular coverage area, so that's why we're roaming right now and connected to Wi-Fi at that. I'm going to pull these settings out and get us off of Wi-Fi, actually, because I want to show you what the network indicators look like, and we'll turn that off. So you can see here, coming on now, roaming, battery life indicator. You get 5 home screens over here. Over here, Android 2.3.6 with a custom build of kind of a myTouch-centric user interface. Now, out of the gate, you're going to get some carrier-installed applications on both of these. You're going to see Amazon MP3, Amazon Kindle, Amazon itself, Daily Perks, Amazon App Store, City ID, IMDb, a lot of pre-installed stuff on both of these devices. IMDb here, mobile TV, and then Google stuff, of course, and then your Google Plus integration, which has been coming lately on a lot of Android devices. SoundHound, TuneIn Radio, Uno, Wi-Fi hotspot, Your Navigator, which is a variation of Telenav for US Cellular, and then Zappos online as well. But you can see kind of the familiar HTC Sense version 4 look and feel here with frequent downloads, search, Play Store, and menu. And then you get your back button, your home button, and your recent applications button. Now over here, and it keeps going into portrait, or into landscape mode rather, you got the myTouch user interface running atop Android 2.3. And you've got a customized little bar down here at the bottom with your home, or with your dial pad. You've got your home button with your apps, I should say, your app store, messages, calendar, browser. These are customizable, as are these. You can move these in and out as you see fit if you want messages up there and people down here. Much like anything Android, the customization is pretty nice all across the board. That said, here you get 5 home screens as well. You can scroll back and forth between them. We'll put Play Store down in here and make that the customized app drawer, or a customized dock, if you will. So out of the gate, you get some T-Mobile stuff, 411 and more, access T-Mobile, you get Amazon, you get call log, and you'll notice that some of the icons are changed over as well. CMAS, which is a custom weather service, you get those annoying weather notifications, that's what that is. DLNA, of course, pre-installed. Game Base, Genius button, which we'll talk about more in part 2. It's actually a pretty useful feature for a device that's $50 after mail-in rebate. Mobile Life Organizer, Monopoly Classic, More For Me, Music Hub, Netflix, and then you get all the Google Play stuff. Setup, T-Mobile Mall, T-Mobile ID, T-Mobile TV. You get Telenav pre-installed on this one as well. They don't call it anything other than just Telenav on here. Unlike US Cellular's version. Wild Tangent, Words with Friends for free, Zenio. Unfortunately, on both of these, the T-Mobile applications can't be uninstalled, but you can toggle between your apps, that you have all of your apps and your downloads, and you can search applications through the menu. So I think it's a little bit of a cluttered menu, if, based on kind of my opinion here. You got your recent applications, you got tabs up here, you got search applications. I feel like it's much more cluttered than Sense 4. Now, granted, HTC's had more time to develop their custom user interface, but I find this just to be a fluid, easy-to-use interface with static buttons up at the top, search, Play Store, and menu, and then static buttons at the bottom. I can go between frequent and downloads without having to see those up at the top, kind of jumbled in with a search button, kind of jumbled in with my applications and my recent apps and more. It's much more clean over on the HTC side. Let's take a look at messages as well, and let's see what this one is. Oh, excellent. Got that one. I'm going to messages here and take a look at both of these, and you can see we'll say, hey, actually let's not do that. Let's do just a test message here. I just want to do something just to show you what it looks like. They both show up in kind of bubbles, but again, I find that the HTC solution over here is a little bit cleaner, a little bit more polished, but then again, you're getting HTC's premier version of Sense on a device, and that is the most obnoxious ringtone or obnoxious sounding text tone I've ever heard in my entire life. Little funny story, when I got these devices in the office, I had to change it. I had to put them on silent for a while because it was driving me freaking crazy hearing that notification. And one of the numbers, I guess, somebody had it before I did. So it was kind of frustrating to hear that all day long. It does get old pretty quickly. You got your settings shortcut up here because you got Android 4.0 over on this device. Then you have some shortcuts up here, much like Samsung's TouchWiz user interface. You've got some easy shortcuts up here, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, and auto rotate along with your data up in the top left-hand corner on both. Another thing I want to show you, recent applications. This is something that's new to Android 4.0, or Ice Cream Sandwich, and you'll see that much like typical Sense 4, unlike typical Sense 4, I should say, this is kind of the stock Android look and feel. Compare this to something like the One X, which is running a full-blown version of Sense 4, and you can see the recent applications here. I can easily scroll through and remove those just like that. So it's a little bit of a different look and feel. This is a more stock Android look and feel, but I can swipe those away, and I have a shortcut button to it right there. But here's your HTC Sense Keyboard. Now, this is a 3.7-inch display, so if you're coming from the iPhone, you shouldn't have a problem. Maybe a device with a 3.2-inch display, or maybe something old like the Droid Ares or the HTC Hero or something of that nature, and you'll find that the design actually resembles the international HTC Hero. But you may have an easy time with it if you're moving from something like that. If you're coming from a bigger smartphone, maybe the HD2, maybe the Evo 4G, maybe something with a 4.5-inch display, you may have a little bit of an issue getting used to a 3.7-inch display. That said, relatively easy to type on, and then you do have, hey there, let's show you here, hey there, how are you today? We're going to give Quick Run Fox the day off. Hey there, how are you today? You have your shortcuts here where you can attach stuff, but all in all, it's pretty easy to type on, and then when I send that, you'll see that it shows up again in kind of a bubble format. If I had a picture for this person, that would appear right there, along with my menu button, where I can scroll back and forth between the options and text messages. Now over here, messages, and we'll do, hey there, again, how are you? Have a good one, just really quickly. And you can see the shortcut here to attach stuff. A little bit of a different menu interface, but then you can see, press and hold, because this is an older version of Android 2.3 at that, I can select my input right here, and I can switch between Android keyboard and swipe. So swipe is pre-installed on this one. All you get over here is the HTC Sense Keyboard. That said, it's been modified from previous versions of HTC's keyboard. It is much better. That's it. It's not my favorite Android keyboard on the market, but it is a little bit better than what we've seen in Sense 3 and Sense 3.5. Also, I want to bring your attention to the lock screens on both of these devices because they are a little bit different, and HTC does offer some personalization stuff, which we'll talk about in just a second. You can see here the shortcuts down here, phone, Gmail, people, and internet. These are all customizable. All I have to do is drag those down into the ring to activate it, or swipe up the ring to unlock. Over here, see the ring, I've got a message, I've got calls, I've got pictures, and I've got unlock. So I can go directly into messages, for example, just by swiping there. I can go back and then unlock it myself by just pressing down, or holding and pressing down, I should say. So pretty quick and easy on both fronts, but what I do like about the One S, or the One V rather, excuse me, is the personalization choices here, where I can go in I can change the skin, so you're seeing aluminum. I can get more skins from HTC Hub. So I think the value for your dollar here, at least in the personalization side and the overall UI side, definitely goes to the HTC One V, because even though it is a little bit of a slower processor, it's optimized to run pretty well with Sense 4 and an Ice Cream Sandwich. An Ice Cream Sandwich just in general seems to run faster to me based on the architecture behind the scenes. Also HTC, so we can apply that, we can get more from HTC Hub, and I can do a lot of cool things here. I can do lock screen shortcuts, I can change my home screen. So I can go in here, and unfortunately, I can change the lock screen shortcuts, but I don't have the option to change to individual lock screens. So if you watch the 1S or the 1X review videos or the Evo 4G LTE, you know you got a bunch of different lock screen options. I hate to keep bringing it back in, but a couple of different options. You can change the weather I was going to show you, but I actually don't have it set up on this device. You can change it to be weather, stocks, friend updates, and more. Can't do that over here just because of the limitations of the actual device. Last but not least, let's talk about the design on both of these devices, and just to give you a comparison, on the left side, on the One V, you get your micro USB charging port, you get your volume rocker here. And on the right side, volume rocker on the One V, camera shortcut button, which you know I love my camera shortcut buttons, on the myTouch, and on the back you get your camera, 5 megapixel cameras on the back of both of these devices, 720p HD video recording on both. So you do get the 720p HD on both of these devices, 1,500 milliamp hour batteries. That said, the myTouch is a removable battery. The One V is a non-removable battery, and then you've got this thing down here where I can easily access the micro SD card slot, but it's a beautiful unibody look and feel here, and it just seems to be more of a toned down version of what we've seen on the Hero and some of the older devices that came out in Europe. Excuse me. That came out in Europe. So beautiful design over here, and again, you know, comparing dollar to dollar, for $100 you can get a really nice device here that's relatively thin, that's got a nice look and feel to it, that's a unibody metal construction, or you can get this device and take advantage of the Genius button, which we'll talk about in part 2. A little bit of a different design, more plasticky, but overall still looks good for $49.99 with a better processor. Which one will win? Stay tuned for part 2.